Hey fellas, welcome to part one of the Disney 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea Nautilus submarine build. This kit was sent to me by a guy that I typically build aircraft for. He thought I might want to do something different. And it's kind of in a sci-fi genre. I've never built a submarine, but I have built a lot of MAK kits, and I really enjoy weathering those, so I think I'm going to enjoy this kit as well. Now this was, the owner purchased this about, let me grab the email here. He purchased this back in April of 2001, so it's 18 years old. It's a discontinued kit, and even back in 2001, he paid a ton of money for it. So I hope I don't wreck it. I know there's a guy, RC Sub Guy, on YouTube. He builds, I've seen him build a kit that's exactly the same, except for instead of having white metal parts like this one does, a lot of his parts are resin. So I don't really know much about the kit. I believe it's probably a 1/77th scale. It's 31 inches long, so it's a pretty good sized kit. My dog's barking. Get him, Barbie. Anyway, the owner did want this lit up, so he didn't give me much direction on how to light it. In fact, I really wasn't familiar with the Nautilus whatsoever until he sent me this kit. And then I started doing some research on it, and I'd never seen the movie until last weekend when I watched it as a research project. So, but I have a good idea. After watching the movie, I get a good idea of the feel of how the lighting is. And it's kind of cool because it's got two windows in the front, if you're not familiar with it, that kind of look like eyes, and the whole thing's kind of got like an animal, sea creature type feel to it. So that's one of the main things I wanted to light up and try to get as accurate as I can was the color. So I kind of mixed some yellow and green and painted an LED to put in there to light up the eyes, kind of like the way they had it in the movie. But you'll see all that. Anyway, I'm not real familiar with lighting. SteveTheFish.net, I had spoke to him a few weeks ago via email, and I know he's done a lot of work with LEDs, and he offered to help me out because I was talking about lighting up an SR-71 at some point. But I think I got this one. There's no flashing lights or anything really intricate. It's just, 4 LEDs and some fiber optics. So I think I got this one figured out. But another guy that I wanted to mention, if you've never seen his YouTube channel, is Clone Fox 80, and I'll put his YouTube channel name in the description. Check out his videos. He builds typically aircraft models, and he does a lot of good weathering. But what really sets his models apart are his lighting. And he puts flashing lights in, and I honestly don't know how he hides all the wires and does all that, but he does a really awesome job. He's got some really cool builds, and so you should check his channel out. It's really neat how he does it. So I'm going to quit talking because I'm going to start coughing. But let's take a look at what I've been doing. So here it is, and I've got it kind of dry fitted here with some rubber bands. Now the main part of the sub comes in these two halves, but there's a little bit of an issue. If I can get this all in my camera, right down here you've got the bottom half and then the upper half, but it seems like this lower half is a bit longer because it kind of overhangs right here and on the front. Now what I kind of determined was that this top half of the hull might have been warped a little bit. So what I did is I took a heat gun, and I was afraid to go too far with it with the heat gun because this is an expensive kit, and I'm not gonna be able to replace something if I mess it up. But I heated this area right along here and kind of pushed it down flat, and it took out some of that, but it didn't take out all of it. But I think I can work with what I've got here. I can probably cheat and sand this down a little bit. Now I don't want to sand these off, so it's going to have to kind of be an angle, but there's a little bit going on back here, so I don't think you're going to notice. And with this, I think I can just probably trim off this end piece right here and make that flush, and I think that'll be okay. Because it looks like it's that way on the top anyway, so that's not going to be a big deal. Up here is where the wheelhouse goes. I can get this off. And I've already started drilling some holes. I've got a hole drilled up here for the LED light that's going to light up the wheelhouse green. I've also got the hole drilled where the depth gauge is going to go. It's also going to be lit up. I also cut out and trimmed out, and I'm starting to work on where the salon lights go. There are two fixtures that go here. Let me grab those real quick. I've got these drilled out to accept some fiber optics that I'm going to put in here. But these go right in here. Now I'm going to have to do some trimming and trim out along here to get a better fit. And I want to do that before I glue the halves together. I want to make sure everything fits before I insert my lights and start gluing, because I don't want a bunch of resin dust getting in there and all my lighting stuff. So this basically just comes apart like this. Now I'm going to light this up. Like I said, let me see if I can grab a switch. Hold on one second. Now I go over how I'm going to light this in an upcoming segment. But what I've done is it's going to be activated. The lights are going to be activated by one of these little push buttons. So what I've done is I've drilled a hole in the side of the lower hole. And then this little button's going to go in. And then I also dremeled out an area so that this will fit a little bit proud. See if I can get this. Oh, Jesus. So then this little thing will fit right in here like so. I can get that to stay. And I'll just basically glue this in, and then there'll be the little button on the side, and then you can just push it and turn it on. Now, this is going to be connected to the battery compartment, which looks like this. And I like to hide my batteries. And these take just like little watch batteries. So what I've done is there's a skiff that goes right here. So what I'm gonna do is I've carved out an area where the skiff goes, and then this little battery compartment is gonna fit down in here like this. So if the guy needs to change the batteries, he can just pull this out. I'm gonna have to try to figure out how high it needs to be able to get pulled out. But it'll fit down in here like this, and then I will attach the skiff with a magnet. And I am going to have to kind of grind away or take out an area so this end of this battery compartment will fit in there. But this will be attached with a magnet, so if he needs to change the batteries, he can just pull this off, pull that out, and be good to go. So that's how I'm going to do that. All right, so here's some of the other parts. Now this is the top, and I've already sanded where the windows, the front glass goes. And the glass comes in this little, what do they call that? Vacuum formed, like clear pieces. It looks like there's a little bit of issue there, but you know, it is what it is. These are for the salon, the main salon window, which I don't know, that probably won't be that big of a deal. But I've already cut out the window glass up here and got them to where they'll fit. And it's pretty much a push fit. I am going to glue them. I'll use some PVA glue, but they fit right in here really well. And I am going to have to glue these before I paint it. So I'm going to have to mask these off, which is always a pain on curved surfaces. But they fit in there just like that. and they fit really well, and they looks cool. And my green light's going to be right down here, so it's going to light up these windows just like you see in the movie. Pop this out without breaking it. Also, the interior where the cockpit goes, you've got the wheelhouse. They've got these like sidewalls. Get in here with better light, but they're pretty detailed. And I'm going to paint the interior some nice metallics so it's all reflective. And I saw the RC sub guy kind of did the same thing on his. So I'll use some copper and some other metallic colors, and also some like brass. I've got some brass enamels in there, or some gold, to really make this light up whenever the lights are on it. Get some nice reflectivity going on. Some other parts, there's a lot of white metal in this that needs to be cleaned up. I'm not a big fan of white metal. They bend and break. This is kind of this is the piece that goes over the salon, the main salon window, and you can see it's broken, so I'm gonna have to repair that and clean all that stuff up. And so hopefully that won't cause me too many issues. Here's the little steering wheel, and it's pretty delicate, and I need to clean that up. So looks like there might be one or two of these little knobs broken off, but I think I'll be able to get away with it. I just have to be careful. Hopefully I don't break off any more. I've already cut out or bent and cut the brass wire that goes where the ladder rungs are, and I show that in a video. But yeah, that's basically it. That's all there is to it. So other than the lighting this up and dealing with the warpage, this should be an easy kit to put together. I am going to paint it a little bit differently. I am going to use spray paint. It's such a big model. I'm going to use some spray paint to paint the whole thing a metallic color. And then I've got some of this stuff over here that I just ordered. This is Modern Masters Metallic Effects Oxidizing Iron Paint. And I've already started experimenting with it. And the RC sub guy uses this to create rust. And what happens is this goes on and it stinks like, oh my gosh, it's horrible. But it's kind of like a paste, and you'll mix it with vinegar, and you'll spread it on, and it'll rust when it dries. And then you can kind of rub it off and work with it a little bit. But hopefully it's going to be really cool. I've never worked with anything like this, and I do a lot of stuff where I weather, so this might come in handy. So we're going to see how this works. So that's where I'm at with this. I'm going to get to painting the interior of the wheelhouse and get to shaping up and dry fitting the salon sections on the side. And once I get that done, then I'll go to install the lights and should be ready to close it up and get to painting. Look at this mess. So one of the first things that I wanted to do was I wanted to get the lighting situated. One, because I'm not very experienced with it. And two, I'm going to have to install most of this before I close it up. So what I've done is I went out to Walmart and I bought this little thing in the automotive department. I don't know really what it's called, but I'll refer to it as my wiring bank. And then I've got, and one of the things that I like to do with my models that I light up is I like to hide as much as possible. And typically what I've used are these little switch/battery compartments right here. And they have these little batteries. I think they're 2032s. They're pretty easy to come by. It's kind of hard to show you, but just a small little thing. And it's got a switch, so I can turn it on and off here. However, I want to be able to hide this, but then let the customer still access it. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to hollow out the area where the skiff goes. And so I'm going to put this down in there. and he'll be able to pull the skiff off. I'll attach the skiff with a magnet. He'll be able to pull the skiff off, pull this out, and change the battery if he needs to. Then what I've got to turn it on and off is this little push button. Now this will go from the inside to the outside, and the only part that's going to be showing, and I know the lighting's not very good in here, but I want to turn the lights off and show you what they look like. It's a little push button, and this little button part's going to protrude to the outside, and you'll just be able to push it on and off from there, and everything's pretty much going to be hidden. And this will end up getting painted, the button part, so you won't hardly even notice it if you weren't looking for it. So I've got 4 LEDs. I've got my 2 for the salon lights on each side with fiber optics coming out of it. To each one of the, I've got 8 fiber optics on each side coming out to each one of the salon lights. I've got the depth gauge, and I've got it painted blue. Again, I know it's like hard to see because my lighting in here sucks. And then I've got the Wheelhouse light. Thank you to one of my YouTubers who told me what the cockpit of the submarine is. So this is going to be the light that lights up the inside of the Wheelhouse. So all you're going to have to do is press this little button right here, and then all the lights will come on. And I'll go ahead and turn out the lights so you can see, and they're pretty bright. And then once I get these in, I'll cut the ends of the fiber optic off, and then I'll take a lighter and just mushroom them out a little bit so they'll be even bigger. So those are really going to light up. They're going to look really cool. So let me shut out the lights, and then you can see what they look like. All right, you ready? 1, 2, 3. That wasn't quite as great as I thought it'd be. But I think that's going to look really cool, all lit up. So, and this has got like this has got a blue tinge to it, and you can kind of see the bubbles in the acrylic where it's kind of, I think that'll look really cool. So that's what I'm starting off with, and I'm going to get to work on cleaning up the rest of the resin parts, and then install my lights, get some parts painted, and then close up the Wheelhouse, and this should move pretty quick. All right, what I'm doing now is I'm putting ladder rungs along the side, and there's 1 each on top. There's 11 total. The kit, it had little dimples where the ladder rungs go, and I just drilled those out. The kit also supplies you with brass rod to make the ladder rungs, and I'll just show you how I'm doing that. Now, the guy that I watched on YouTube had some kind of a measuring gauge for bending wire at a certain length. I'm not that fancy, and I don't do this that often. So what I've done is I've taken my flat pliers, and I've just marked a spot to reference where I want to put the brass tube or the brass rod to measure it. So I stick it in there like that. Then what I'll do is I'll bend one side. Make sure I get it at a 45-degree or 90-degree angle. Then I'll take the other side and I'll just push it down and bend it. This is pretty stiff, but it's still bendable. Then I'll take my wire cutters, and then I cup it, because if I don't, what's going to happen is this is going to shoot off and I'm going to lose it. I know from experience. Okay, then I get a little ladder rung, and I may need to bend it and manipulate it a little bit more if I didn't get it just right. We'll see if this one fits. And looks like it's gonna fit. And then I can just glue it in just like that. So I gotta do this 11 times total. I'll put them all in here, and then I'll glue them in once I get all my insides painted. So that is how I do that. All right, well, I've got it almost ready to close up. As you can see, I've painted the inside of the wheelhouse. I've got the windows in. The windows aren't real clear. It's just that type of plastic. I did take some Future and brush it on the inside part of the windows. And when I'm done painting and I've unmasked it, then I'll take Future and probably paint the outside and see if that will help with any clarity. Don't know if it will or not, but either way, it is what it is. I've also got the steering wheel and this other thingamajob in there, as well as my lights and the blue depth gauge. So those are all ready to get lit up. I've also closed up everything I can. Oh, this tape isn't sticking real well. And I've kind of tried to button down my wiring right here. We can attest. I'll probably take some 5-minute epoxy and glue it down. Back here, I do have the battery compartment in place. I just made it out of plastic card. And how this is going to work is, we can situate this where I don't knock anything out. It's kind of delicate at this moment. Try this. I can do this. All right. So the battery compartment will be in here. And it will fit down inside. And I've got a magnet right here and a large magnet on the skiff. So the skiff will sit here and it's held pretty tight. These are pretty strong magnets. So if the owner needs to change the battery at some point, which I don't suspect he will, just because it's not like you're going to leave this on all the time, you can just grab this little piece of tape on the side of the thing. Man, I am not having much luck. I'm going to have to make a bigger piece of tape. And then you can just pull the battery compartment out, change the battery, and then push it back in, like so. And that's how that's going to work. I've also got my salon lights all threaded through. I've epoxied and painted the back part of the fiber optics because I want to try to keep any light to where it's supposed to go and not let it seep out anywhere. So I went ahead and primed everything black. Hopefully that will prevent any light leak. The only place I think I may have an issue with light leak is right here in my battery compartment. And what I've done is I painted it all black, and there's just a little hole right here where light can come up. So I want to try to keep all the light where it's supposed to go, and I don't want any light in here inside the hole if I can prevent it. So that's where I'm at. And once I get this top piece on the wheelhouse, I'll get that glued down once everything dries, and then I'll be able to put my wiring bank in and close up the hole. So that's what I've got, and I'll see you on the next video where it should be all closed up and ready for paint.